kind of tell who the community leaders are going to be, right? Just by their actions and how active they are in school, and Rensselaer is definitely one of those. I wanted to talk a little bit about my family, and I mentioned my mother's side and the clan. Well, my mother is actually Aravaipa Apache, and so come from a very strong heritage and history, and I'm very proud to be part of that lineage. The organization that I represent today, as mentioned, is United National Indian Tribal Youth, and I'm going to talk a lot about that today. The acronym is UNITY. UNITY has been around since 1976, and I became involved with UNITY at a very young age. And you know, as you grow up, you are influenced by mentors, by the organizations that you become involved with, school activities, extracurricular activities, and for me, UNITY impacted my life. So I'm going to talk a lot about that today. Well, we're working on the PowerPoint. I would like to say, just as by way of background, that UNITY represents many tribal nations across the country, and we work with Native youth ages 14 to 24. And one of the programs that UNITY sponsors is the Earth Ambassador Program. We recognize Native American youth around the country. There's a nomination and application process. And we encourage you to apply for the Earth Ambassador Program. And through this program, we give them a platform to express their voices about environmental issues that are important to them. And I invited a young man today to join me on this stage, because one of the things that we believe in at UNITY is to allow youth to express their voices. And I'm proud to say that this young man is from here. This is his indigenous communities from the Pasquayaqui tribe, and he was named an Earth Ambassador. He's made me very proud because he's done well in his life. He's now on the police force for the Pasquayaqui tribe, and so I'd like to invite him to come up. I would like to yield some of my time to this young person and his voice to talk about his passion, why he wanted to become an Earth Ambassador, and his initiative. So Xavier Medina, can you please come up? Can we welcome Xavier, please?
My name is Xavier Medina. I'm a member of the Pasquayaqui tribe. I grew up not too far from here on South Camino Vaca. I'm also Navajo, as well as Puerto Rican. My pops was Puerto Rican, my mother's full native. So, but yeah, in 2015, I decided to join the Earth Ambassador Program. It interests me, really from like my grandfather and just his awareness of the environment, how he grew up on the Navajo reservation, influenced my perspective of just treating nature with respect, ultimately. During the time, I was maybe a sophomore, freshman in high school, wasn't doing so great. So I decided to join that program, and I think that program kind of changed my life and diverted me to being a better person, opening my awareness on the world and just what's going on in the world as well, and how I can affect that, even within my own community. So in 2015, I made a bunch of great friends, great people. I made an impact, and one of my projects for the Earth Ambassador Program was talking about the Rio Yaqui water rights in our homelands in Mexico. My project was talking about how the influx, or how the government of Mexico wasn't distributing the water, our water that's next to our natural land and our resources. So our people to this day are still pretty affected by that. So from what I remember back back then, I put in a project, I did the project, I also did a presentation to community members and elders that were familiar with it. I also had people come from Mexico and talk to me about their experience. And hopefully, I get a chance to, I think the age gap is 24 now, right? For Unity. So I'll be doing that now, and yeah, that's all I got. Thank you.
You know, all he's got is a lot. All he's got is his energy, he's got his mind, he's got his spirit, his heart is in the right place. He talked about protecting water and the future of his people. That's what it's about. And that's what unity is about. So I talked earlier about how unity influenced my life. So I'm just going to share a little bit again about why I became involved with Unity and why this program is so important to Native American youth. Unity reaches out to young people in a magical way, and the way that it does so is doing what I just did just now. I asked this young man to be here today and asked him to take this stage, which he didn't have to speak in front of people. Imagine the courage that it takes for a young person to do that. You know, when you're a teenager, sometimes you're shy, or you're not like Winsler, you're speaking out all the time, but you're shy, and a shy person, it takes somebody to encourage them, to shake their hand and say, I believe in you. I would like you to express your voice. Can you come up here on stage and talk about an issue that's important to you? And that's how it all began for me. When I went to a Unity conference, and the executive director at that time, J.R. Cook, who has now passed on, a member of the Cherokee Nation, who did what I just did with Xavier and said, can you introduce the speaker coming up? What that means is you have to go over there, sit down with them, write down their bio, because he didn't have anything on paper. So it took a lot of courage at that time for me, because I was still learning my place, and learning how to express my voice. So when he asked me to do that, it empowered me. And it made me see potential to be in front of a microphone. And for those of you who may not be aware of my career, back then, I really came out of my shell. And I enjoyed so much being in front of people and being in front of a microphone that I made a career out of it. My nickname when I was in Unity became Microphone Mary. So anyway, for those of you who might not be familiar with my background, I made a career in TV news for 20 years. And that's what I mean by, making a career of having a microphone in my hand. And nowadays, you don't see microphones so much. They have those lavaliers they put on you. But that's how Unity impacted my life. It just took that one simple act to ask somebody to speak. And I have so much respect for Nyland Pike, because somebody had to ask her for the very first time to speak, right? And what that must have been like for her to speak for the very first time. And then she took off, right? And Nyland has been invited to speak at Unity and has been part of our virtual presentation in the past, so I appreciate that. Unity is amazing because not only does it empower Native youth to express their voices, but it allows them to be in a place where they feel safe among their peers. And we cater to them in ways that I think maybe other organizations cannot. And that is through their peers. So it's youth to youth. When you go to Unity, you're going to see a lot of youth in charge. They're the MCs, they're the moderators, they're taking over the workshops, they're running the whole show. And that's how we develop our youth leaders, through hands-on leadership development. So Unity's mission is really, it's a holistic approach. And the way we believe in developing our young leaders is to lead them so that they develop their whole selves, mentally, spiritually, physically, and socially. And that really goes to the root of our own native beliefs, to be a balanced person. And we know that as Indigenous people, our cultural traditions, our heritage, speaks to that holistic approach in developing that person in those areas of life. So, you know, when you talk to people about developing a young person in these 4 areas, what does that mean? Some people may not understand, okay, how do you do that? It's in 3 areas: leadership development, personal development, and citizenship. What does leadership mean? Leadership means many things, right? I've asked this question, I've posed this question before to people, and I've received many answers. Because leadership does mean a lot of things. Leadership means not only caring for the people, advocating for people, having a heart for the people, but also developing those skills so that you can do all those things, right? And that's what we do at Unity, help our youth to develop their skills. Even public speaking, which is a very important part. Personal development. We know that a lot of young people may not go on to become tribal leaders or community leaders, but they may become leaders in their own homes, right? So personal development is very important, developing themselves so that they feel empowered and inspired. And there's many ways that we do that. And that can be through, you know, education. It could be through an extracurricular activity, but finding their passion and going after that. The last thing is citizenship. What does it mean to be a good citizen? And teaching those values as well. And again, making it culturally relevant. So the heart of Unity is the Youth Council Network. We have more than 300 youth councils in 36 states.